if we look at, let's say, the media about in the 80s and 90s, you had to have a fairly sizable budget in order to dominate a market, because advertising on in press or on TV or anywhere was expensive. Small brands had no chance against the biggies, because even if you had to release a classified ad in a newspaper, you would end up paying 4 or 5,000 rupees. That was the minimum sort of threshold level to get into a newspaper. Facebook and Google have made a mockery of it, because with 100 rupees a day, you can actually run a small local campaign. Barriers have been lowered to the point where they have made billions of dollars in the bargain and democratized the access, which means that the existing media have been badly hit because they could no longer hold the price line or stay in their ivory towers, which we see. Do you also see that big brands are having to work harder to stay in the same place because Johnny come lately, or brands which never had a chance? One of those examples which come to mind is that Dollar Club shave. This guy who had a viral this thing on viral film on YouTube finally got to be such a pain in the whatever for Gillette that they paid $1 billion just to buy him over. What he did was to take exactly the same thing and ran a low cost campaign, but it really worked. It worked extremely well, and it's one of those campaigns that's taken as, it didn't have an agency behind it or whatever. It was done by the person. So do you think that has the market evened out for the big brands, or do you think it's a different world?
No, I think the market has evened out simply by that democratization that you were mentioning a few moments ago. Exactly, that is what has happened in my view. That more people can peddle their wares in uh, places where they will be seen and heard and bought,
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with that. So
right.
you don't need to buy me because I'm a big multinational and I come on the biggest ads kind of stuff. That is one part of it. The second part of it, I have a feeling in the late 90s to the early 2000s, at least in the urban centers, there was a kind of cynicism towards advertising, healthy cynicism, I would say. What I therefore find is that people are now finding it easier to buy online from relative strangers. I mean, we used to say with the Biani starting that thing that he did and all that, saying in India nobody would buy vegetables and groceries without the touch feel thing. Just this morning, the Blinkit guy came and delivered a few things over here and went back, and I don't think anybody was saying, "Oh my God, quality." Nobody was crying. So obviously, our habits have changed, and
Yeah,
it seems to be perfectly an acceptable way. And 10, 15 years ago, we could have said the same thing about a place like Amazon.com and also
right.
Flipkart, where originally we said, how will you give your credit card details online? My God, there is so much of computer cheating. And I don't know who went and changed everybody's mind. And after some time, all that didn't seem to be a problem at all.
Disappeared. Yeah,
And now there is a GPay, there is this, there is that, all that kind of stuff has come in. So there is no problem saying, I'm trying to say that there's no problem buying from a stranger. By extension, if I can buy that easily from a stranger, then that guy need not be a name. Because if he was already a name, he would no longer be a stranger. Surf I've known for years. Therefore, Surf is not a stranger. Rin is not a stranger. Wheel is not a stranger. Bata is not a stranger. But if you say Neiman's shoes, which I came across Friday in February last year or 2 years ago, I've got already two or three pairs of this. I never worried about whose Neiman's was. I'll order and see, and it was perfectly all right. And over the next 2 years, I've ordered two more pair or one more pair or two more pairs. And
yeah,
I don't think I'm so special. That there are millions of people doing this kind of stuff. So that the razor guy or something. Previously, it took a Gillette to convince you because people were not buying that easily from strangers in strange marketplaces,
right.
digital, and now all those barriers easier to pay. So this UPI made it easier to pay. No longer suspicion. We all know that credit cards can be, it's like saying, I know this, even my house can be burgled. We knew it in the 50s, we know it today also. But it's not letting us stop us from
Yeah,
saying that no, every day, therefore I must spend 2 hours worrying about it. We don't do that. If it happens, we'll see, or maybe I'm covered by insurance and we go on. I'm just saying something has happened where this buying and probably the people's liquidity and cash and everything has increased. We are a whatever, a progressive, successful economy and all that. So obviously that means there is a lot more money in people's pockets, and all that has to be spent on something. And therefore, we are practically easy guys to sell to, I think. Therefore, in many ways, if were to give you a price, some attractive visual, the usual good advertising basic promises, the only issue is, can I reach enough people? That is
Yeah.
like I said, because if the Instagram guy is not the Facebook guy is not the other guy, and so on. uh, that is what we are dealing with. But provided I can start with one, probably make enough money, invest it in another medium, probably control and so on, which some brands like Neiman's and others seem to be doing very, very well, then probably there is a whole lot to be gained. The point I'm making probably is that the consumer, for whatever reason, has become more amenable today, and this democratization of brands works in their favor, because they're not saying, but who are you, I don't really trust you. That business which we used to spend hours on figuring out, how do I win the trust, and even running corporate campaigns. I remember Philips running corporate campaigns in the 90s, saying, when it's Philips, you're sure. We took care
So
to do those kind of things, but right now I don't think it seems to be a big issue.
I think that is a very perceptive thing, that earlier you needed to have a whole lot of trust in order to buy a brand. But today, when you buy from a stranger, which is the equivalent of buying online when you've never seen a Neiman's in a shop, for example,
Yeah.
or all these speakers which you buy today, which is your boat and your noise and various other things which you just pick up.
Yep.
And the thing is that the advertising is actually quite savvy, because it's not as if they are the one. The few times that I've seen a boat ad, or I've gone onto the website and seen what they're about, it kind of builds up whatever you had in mind about what they do. That earlier you had to think of cheap Chinese brands to get it. Maybe they're, you know, getting it done out of China and then just branding it and bringing it out here, which is essentially what seems to happen. But I think that what the point that you made about buying from strangers is actually the underlining aspect of what you just said. So are you saying in some way that brand building does not hold the kind of charisma, or it isn't required in a world where, let's say, if it's a shoe, I don't need to be educated about a shoe, or if it's a pair of speakers, I don't need to be told amazing things about speakers, because there's nothing. There's a certain level of satisfaction, or there's a certain level of expectation, and if that is met, it doesn't matter which one is I'm buying, in which
That's what
case,
it's coming down to. People are saying, cut the bullshit,
ah,
because a shoe is a shoe. How much more do you want? Yeah.
it's a world in which people are still paying top dollar for Nike and Skechers and stuff like that. So what is happening there? Why is it that somebody, a Skechers, which is at 6,000 and 8,000 rupees, can also survive, and Nike, which is at 6, 8, 10, can also survive, versus a Neiman's, which is there? Is it that the segmentation in the market is now, what do you say? There is a certain flaunt value, which is the only reason a brand is able to command a premium, or is there something else happening?
No, I have a feeling that it's the same reason that why a Lamborghini used to sell those days and still sells today, as much as a Toyota Corolla or a Wagoner continues to sell. I think
Okay,
the price value equation is different for various kinds of people
the
everywhere,
flaunt
and that
value.
has
Yeah,
always
yeah,
existed.
yeah,
I don't think, therefore, I mean, if you're a Nike, you probably need to keep investing in that, in your brand nest, so to speak, to keep that high. All I'm
yeah,
saying is that democratization seems to be working in the middle and lower levels pretty well, because previously, if you just said, I'm Neiman and this is my shoes and I'm $1,000 or $2,000, people will say, oh, come on, go to hell. I mean, why will I even consider you?
yeah,
Although the price is interesting, there may always be some people who will buy, but a lot of the people in the not so poorly off will not take you seriously. That
yeah.
resistance seems to have come off. The people who always say it's Nike or nothing kind of stuff, it's those Apple kind of people who buy only iPhones and all. That's great. I mean, Apple is still
Exactly.
living off that brand value. Good for you. And you say, no, I want to spend 1.2 lakhs to buy myself a phone. Who's going to stop you? Go ahead, suit
Nothing.
yourself.
Have you heard of this brand called Bangalore Watch Company?
No.
Okay. Bangalore Watch Company has a website. I haven't seen them in stores. They're obviously largely. Each watch is priced at 75 and 80,000 rupees. So they're not cheap. And yet they seem to have a market. The difference is that he says Swiss precision and what we're bringing to the table is design. So when you look at it on a this thing versus, so there are these extremely small communities which have kind of evolved. I still haven't tried, what exactly is happening in those markets and how that grows and how it becomes big. How do you retain the mystique when you're available just as everyone else is? It's not difficult to get your brand. A price premium, which in today's market, where a fossil and something else can save 5 and 10,000 rupees, these guys can actually get away with 75 and 80,000 rupees
But
value.
that has always been the trick that luxurious brands have always pulled off. No, why would
Yeah.
you pay that much today or yesterday for a Rolex, for example, or
I
that?
agree, Narayan. My question is, a Rolex has the advantage of age, in the sense it has a history, it has a whole set of things which, they were one of the earliest to pioneer a whole lot of watch progress in terms of manufacturing.
Yeah,
Now,
but I'm
here's a
saying at
brand.
some point they were
Huh,
not old. At some
okay.
point, they also did the same thing that the new brands are doing. They had to have a day one
Yeah, I
themselves.
guess.
And
Yeah.
therefore, we can see the value of Rolex after 50 years is a different problem altogether. But somebody saw the value from year one, otherwise, there would be no 50 years. And
So,
they never started by saying that I will start cheaply, and after 10 years, Nike did the same thing. So, the luxury brand story is a different story in any age, I think. The price
which you
premium.
have worked on several luxury brands, Narayan. So, what do you think is the glue that attracts them? Is it that they somehow project an air of I'm not easily accessible, or is it that by acquiring me, your status in life goes up?
Yeah, it is a combination. To my mind, a lot of luxury brands have to take this thing off. Like with people, you want to decide how friendly you are and how aloof you are.
Yeah,
The more cheaper the brand, the more friendly you will be. And the more premium the brand, the more aloof you'll be. And that needs to be managed.
yeah,
If you're aloof beyond a point, whatever that point may be, then you will be completely ignored, because you can get to the point of you want me to be aloof, so I mean bugger off. But if you did it well, and which is what brand, nobody knows how to do it from the starting line, but they try different ways, including
yeah.
all the famous ads that we've seen of Shivas, when it was one of the most expensive ones in the beginning and all that,
Right,
to make it seem absolute. Some of these ads which attach themselves as art, practically vodka,
right.
and therefore there were certain kind of associations. Rolex to this day is only seen on Wimbledon and a few space.
Yeah,
Therefore, they tend to kind of make themselves exclusive. So taken with the price, see, premium of the price is one part of it, but then the other activities that you're seen doing or not doing are important. So all premium brands have to decide that I will be seen here equally, I will not be seen there. I don't do fashion shows, I don't do this, but when I do this, that, and the other. And then I suppose all the magic of art and copy also comes shining through in a, because
yeah,
it just appeals to a higher part of yourself, where we are talking about aspirations, and it says that the premium brands tend to appeal to the best part of you as a human being, as a whatever, and not to the baser or the middle parts of ourselves, but to some other refined parts of ourselves, kind of stuff is what they aim to do in different ways. And taken together with the premium, that seems to hold them together. Now, obviously, there's no one way of doing premium
yeah,
stuff. Certainly, the
yeah,
price has to be there, and then you figure out different ways of doing it. And I have a feeling, as humans, we tend to somehow recognize them, that why certain things are premium, and they fulfill something in our lives. And then we say that maybe not today, but one day I will get a BMW, is probably what the 40-year-old is thinking. uh, no point telling him,
yeah,
boss, that has also got four wheels, one steering wheel, four seats, and blah blah. He's not listening to you. I mean, it's not a factual thing.
yeah,
So
yeah,
therefore, there are these kind of things that products and people of a certain kind will always play a part in your life, where they satisfy some other needs and aspirations of yours. Otherwise, life would be boring, I guess, that everybody
Yes.
has a
Yes.
house,
Yes.
a functional car, a functional motorbike, a functional servant, and a functional. I mean, if that's all there is to it, I mean, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
So somewhere, I think these luxury products know how to tackle that instinct in us in hundreds of ways that are possible to reach us that way, I guess.
Yeah.
So this,
It goes back to this thing of it's really in the mind and who you are as a consumer, because where you see value, but creating that difference, do you think that has got more difficult in today's world, where earlier celebrities were, you saw very little of them, and today you have the celebrity who is posting practically every day and then has the same number of followers, so that sense of mystique has completely gone, evaporated. So, do you see a trajectory, or do you see more of this being, yeah, there are some things about people which will never change? It's only about the exploits and maybe a certain category that will change over time.
yeah, I really think so. I think people are people. We have always been people. A lot of the things are all at the superficial level. It looks like things have changed a hell of a lot. And they say to even build big brands and effective brands, don't look for the things that change, because that's if you catch the latest trend, if you're constantly, it's a mug's game. There is no end to that. Look for the things that don't change in us human
Yeah.
beings, or that change relatively slowly over a long period of time. So if the need for luxury is there, need for good looks are there, need for smelling good or feeling good, or being healthy or being fit or doing exploits or something, these are all very basic human traits in any age. We can cover it with the clothing of the times, so to speak, but
Yeah. Yeah.
the essential things are essential things in from Alexander's days or whatever it is. Probably those guys worried about what kind of shield they were carrying or whatever it was. So I'm just saying. So
I can imagine my shield is better than your shield.
why is it
Okay.
my shield is looking more polished than yours? A lot is being made of the changes that are happening. Of course, changes that are happening, and they are happening fast, and there are many. But essentially, we are trying to cut through as communicators of how to make in the end humans talking to other humans, and you're talking the
Yeah.
language of persuasion. So is my media clear? Is my message clear? Is my product offering a right benefit at the right price? Why will something like that change with time? That'll remain the same whether it's an iPhone
Yeah.
or.
That'll never change. Yeah. That's true. Great. I think on that note,